Start.
Welcome to day 2. We're going to go right off the bat with part B, Hamilton. Now, if you walked into an appliance store tonight and wanted to go home with a $4,000 52-inch television, they wouldn't give it to you. If your parents walked in without any cash, your parents would take that TV home tonight or have it delivered. Why is that? The answer is they have credit. They've established credit. Okay? We'll stop the video for a minute and talk about how you establish credit. But keep in mind, it's kind of like that credit score that you see on TV commercials all the time. Well, Hamilton was, fill in, responsible for establishing credit for the United States. Okay? Establishing credit for the United States. Next bullet, how did he do that? And the answer is he connected the government with, of course, the wealthy. Nothing's changed there. All right. Jefferson is, what should we fill in there, Freddie? Ooh, he's the champion of the common man. Yes, he's the champion of the common man, fill in. Okay? And of course, he disagrees with Hamilton on all of this stuff. Next slide is part C, Hamilton's plan. And he paid off $51 million worth of, Freddie, debts. Could you be more specific about the debts? War bonds? Yes, war bonds. Okay, fill in war bonds. The country had sold war bonds while we were fighting Britain. And of course, most people bought these and figured, oh, I'll never get paid back, but I'll make a contribution to our army. Okay. Now, here's the problem with this situation. Rich guys went around. Let's say a rich guy like Freddie goes around and says to Mikey, "Hey, Mikey, didn't you buy a $100 war bond?" And Mikey says, "Oh yeah, that worthless thing." And Freddie says, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you $10 for it." And Mikey's like, "Sure, it's worthless. I'll take $10. Well, rich people went around buying up all the war bonds they could get their hands on. And now Hamilton announces, hey, we're going to pay them off in full. So the rich who speculated are happy. And the average guy that sold his war bonds for almost nothing was very unhappy. All right, number 2, he's going to also pay off $21 million worth of states' war bonds. The 13 states also sold war bonds. And Hamilton says the U.S. government will pay those off. Okay, now, there's a big problem. One part of the country paid off their own bonds. Which part, Freddie? Ooh, the South. Yes, fill in the South. They paid off their own war bonds, and now they're mad because Hamilton's going to pay off the northern state bonds, and the South had paid theirs off. So they don't think that's fair. So, as a compromise, and this is a deal Hamilton made with basically Jefferson and Madison, something was done to make them happy, to make Southerners happy. And the fact is, fill in, they were going to relocate the U.S. Capitol to the South, which is its present location, Washington, D.C. Okay? The capital was in, of course, Freddie, Philadelphia. Yes, the capital had been in Philadelphia. All right. Next slide, number 3 in the plan. He's going to create the Bank of the United States. Okay? The Bank of the United States. Now, I won't even have to ask Freddie, who should we fill in? Was against this? Of course, Jefferson. Okay? Jefferson didn't want to see all that money in one place. He thought the bank would be, next fill in is benefit the rich. And pointed out that the bank is not where, Freddie? The Constitution. Yes, the bank is not in the Constitution. Jefferson disagreed with all 3 of these steps, and eventually we're going to fill in Jefferson resigns as Secretary of State in 1793. Resigns as Secretary of State. Put SOS for the abbreviation. SOS. All right, let's move on to slide part D, what rebellion was a big thing in Washington's presidency? Mikey, are you awake?
That was the Whiskey Rebellion.
Yes, the Whiskey Rebellion was Hamilton's way to establish the right of the U.S. to collect taxes by going after the toughest guys he could think of. Okay? If he put a tax on a bunch of little old ladies having tea parties, that really wouldn't impress anybody. So he goes after the toughest guys he could find. And next bullet, he puts an excise tax, E-X-C-I-S-E. He puts an excise tax on whiskey made by these Western Pennsylvania farmers. Now, they refused to pay. Okay, and fill in, they shot at the tax collectors. Now, Hamilton knew they would do that. Okay, now this brings us to one of my world famous stories. If you ask any high school student, they'll tell you this story if they had me. When I was about 4 years old, my brother had a radio that he bought with his paper route money. Okay, and you know, a radio you can buy for $5 these days, but back in the time when I was little, these radios were probably 40 or 50 bucks. Okay, and the radio was about the size of the Chromebook. Okay, the radio was huge, and it had all kinds of things. You could hear police radio on it. You could hear people in other countries, and you also had AM and FM. And I was not allowed to touch my brother's radio. Well, one day he wanted an excuse to beat me up. So he put the radio on the kitchen table. Well, you know, being 4 years old, I walk into the kitchen and I see my brother's radio and I run right to it and I'm messing with all the knobs and everything. And then my brother yells, "Aha! You're messing with my radio!" And he runs and tackles me and beats me up in the kitchen. Okay? My brother set me up. He was the Alexander Hamilton. Okay? He set up those Western